So we are going to move to part 3. Priyanka, I think I'm clear.
Yes, Pramil, we can hear it.
Okay. So next part, we will see how to create a stacked column chart using the disaggregations and a few chart options. So this is the chart we are going to create and maybe change some layouts and see some options. So this is, if you say, this is the chart of number of HIV tests performed separated by urban, peri-urban and rural disaggregation. So here you can see for each month there are 3 columns, 3 stacks in each chart which shows urban, peri-urban and rural. So I'm going to open this chart in the system. So you go to file and click open. So if you type HIV tests as a field, as a defining criteria, then you can see HIV test performed locally. So this is the chart we are going to create. So I will create this from the scratch and see whether this chart is useful or we need to make any modifications. I'm going to create a new chart. The chart is a stack column chart. You can see there were 3 stacks. So I'm going to use a stacked column chart option, and the data should be HIV test performed. So I will try to find that indicator. So when I type HIV test, I can see indicator called HIV test performed. So I will use this as my data. So I'm going to hide this because I have few more to choose. Period, let's say last 12 months by default. So I will keep it as it is, and org unit is training land. So I will keep this as it is and update and see what will happen. So I get a chart with the number of HIV tests performed in the last 12 months in training land, but I don't see any stacks. Why is that? Because in the data I selected only one data element, and there were one data item and there were no disaggregations. So to have stacks, each data item should have 3 components, or you can have 3 data items. So to get the stacks for urban, peri-urban and rural, I'm going to apply another dimension, that is the disaggregation, which is on your left side at the bottom. You can see urban and rural disaggregation dimension here. So I'm going to apply this disaggregation to the chart and see what happens. So I click on that and I can see peri-urban, rural and urban disaggregation. I can select whatever I want, but I want all 3. I'm going to apply peri-urban, rural and urban. I would like to see this in a different order, maybe urban, peri-urban and rural. And I'm going to add this to the series and see what happens. Now I get the chart with a stack chart with 3 types of stacks, that is urban, peri-urban and rural for each month for training land. That is the number of HIV tests performed. You can see in green it's the urban, in blue it's a peri-urban and red is the rural. I'm going to go back to my presentation. So this was what happened. So urban rural dimension is added, but the chart which I have does not make any sense with the urban rural. For that to make sense, it would have been better if you have the org units in the chart with their disaggregation. For example, let's say we will have all the districts as stacks with three disaggregations. So in each district you will see how many performed in the rural areas, how many performed in the urban areas, and how many in the semi-urban areas. So now I'm going to add the organization unit component into the chart. So for that, let's say I want org units as the category. Right? So each district will have 3 stacks for 3 disaggregations. So I will drag this organization unit into the category, and I want it disaggregated under the districts. Currently it's the training land selected, so I'm going to select districts. How do you select districts here? One method is you can select each district one by one like this, or there is an easy method by using a level or a group. So if I go to levels and select district, you will automatically easily select all the org units in the district levels. So just click it. Here you can see you can do multiple selects if you want. When you click it, it will be highlighted, and if you don't want it, you can unclick it. So make sure what you want is highlighted, and then you click outside. You can see the selected part there. Similarly, if you want a group, you can select a group, but I don't want a group. So I'll select training land as my parent, and I will get all the districts of the training land into my chart. Now let's update and see. Right, now we got a different chart. We got all districts in training land as the categories, and the number of HIV tests performed in each district by the urban, semi-urban, and rural disaggregation. So this chart is more sensible for the disaggregation we applied. But what is the issue here? Is there any issue, or is this chart clear? So our objective is to compare the urban, peri-urban, and rural proportions of each district, and how each district is performing in under those categories. So issue here is some districts have very low number of HIV tests. For example, the staple district, the Sweet district has only 8,000. So it's very difficult to compare because the column is very small. You can't see the disaggregation here. But on the other hand, dinner district or fish district, you can easily see the disaggregation and how each 3 components are contributing. So what is the solution for this? In DHIS2, we can use this options menu, and there is an option to add stack values up to 100. That is, each stack will be recalculated to make 100%, so that you can see the proportions easily within the stack. So I'm going to show it to you again. If you go to options, and on options there are three tabs. First one is data tab, and under display you get value tables first. That is, you can show the value labels in the chart, which is by default clicked. And the second one is stacked values at up to 100. So this option is only useful in stacked chart. So if you click that and update, the chart will be adjusted to 100% stack like this for each district. So you can see which district has focused more on the rural areas and which has more on urban areas likewise. So this might be a little useful than what we had previously without the 100% option, right? So that is one option I wanted to show. So the next options under data, there are a few more options. I will describe it in a different chart, but we'll go to the axis options. In this axis options, you can have an axis title. That is each axis. Currently you can see there are no titles in for the axis. You can see there's a title for the table, and you can see the labels of the categories, the numbers, values, and a legend showing what color each is represented. So I'm going to add some labels to the axis title. So for the y-axis, I will put number of tests. So now y-axis has a name. So you can also limit the y-axis range. Currently it's 0 to 100 because it's a stacked 100% chart. So you don't have to change it, but if you want to change it, you can put the axis range minimum and maximum. I'm not going to do that here. And you can define a number of steps. Number of steps means here by 0, 20, 40, 60, 80, 100, you get steps. So 0 is also a step, 20, 40, 60, 80, 100. So you get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 steps. Let's say you want it by tens. So you have to add 11 steps. Decimals I don't want in this chart. So y-axis also I will add the title. My title would be district. Right. Now I have formatted the axes. Let's go to style. There is an option to show no spaces between bars and columns. Currently in the chart you get some space between the bars, but if you want to get rid of this, you can tick this. And the legend key, which I showed earlier at the bottom, if you want to get rid of this, you can click this. Actually it should be the other way around. I think they should change it, because when you click this, the legend will go out. Right. The chart title, usually by default it's auto generated. It will get from the data elements you have selected, but you can custom and put your own child titles. I will put number of HIV tests, rural. We'll put that part to the next one. Number of HIV tests. So I'll put a subtitle, rural, urban, semi-urban, peri-urban, sorry, peri-urban. Let's update and see what will happen. So you can see you get the two titles for the accesses, number of tests, district, and you can see the steps have changed. Now we have got by tens, and you can see the spaces between the stacks have gone, and you can see also the legend has gone, and you can see the table, the chart titles have changed. So I don't like this without spaces, so I'm going to put the spaces back and put the legend back and update, so you get a better chart. So those are some options you can do in this chart. The other options I will describe in the next chart. So next we will see what a stacked bar chart will look like. So we have covered this part, the X chart options, and next part would be the stacked bar charts, and there we will use we'll see how to use the other options in the charts. So I'm going to convert the same chart into a stacked bar chart and see. Go to chart options, select stacked bar and update. So you can see the same chart horizontally. So you see the districts on your left side and the number of tests along the x-axis. So this is a stacked bar chart which might be better than the stacked column chart in certain instances. So again, if you want to create the stacked bar chart later and practice. Right, so the next option we are going to discuss is how to download. So if you want this chart in a presentation or a report, you can straight away download it. You can download as an image, PNG or a PDF. If I click image, so you can see the chart is downloading. You can save it. So if I want it as a PDF, you can click PDF and it will start downloading. Currently it's a little slow, right? And there are a few other downloading options. If you want, these are little advanced. You can download as data sources. For example, if you want an Excel of this chart, you can download it so that you can modify the chart further. Right. Next, we will see the options of sort, order, and target lines. For that, we are going to open this chart, the EPI, DPT, FPHIV coverage by org units chart, and see how the sorting and target lines will work. So I'm going to open that chart, EPI. So EPI, DPT, hepatitis B, HIV, and 1 and 3 coverage by org units. I'm going to open this favorite. Something went wrong. I'm not sure what has happened here. So that chart, I think somebody may have removed or deleted. So I'll create that chart. That column, 5, new. I'll put a stacked column chart. My data would be BPT B. FB1 coverage. So I will create that chart so that you can use that for the last 12 months for training. And let's try an update. So we are going to use this chart. It's a column chart with two data items, PPT, FP and HIP coverage, HIP1 coverage and HIP3 coverage percentages for the last 12 months. So I'm going to show you the sort options here. So if you go to options, you can see we had few options we didn't discuss. I think we went through the access options and style options. Now we're going to go to the rest of the data options here. So cumulative values, let's discuss this later. And hide empty categories, you can hide if there are empty categories. Like for example, if there are months with no data, but it will still show in the chart, you can hide it. But in this chart, they are not here. All the categories have data, so it won't be any use. But if you want to use that, you can tick and check which data categories to hide, the empty ones coming after the last, empty ones coming before the last, or empty ones anywhere in the chart, you can hide. Let's go to order, custom sort order now. If you go to the chart, it's now currently in the order of the months. It's not sorted in particular order. I'm going to sort it low to high. So that lowest value month will come first, and likewise. So you can see it's not very clear here because the values are almost similar. So, but if you go to the HIP1 coverage, you can see that the values are sorted. The first one is 79, then 80, 280 is 80.7. So it's sorted according to the first element only, first indicator only. So if you go to the blue column, the blue series, it is not sorted. So you can use sorting only for the first data item. You can't sort by two items. So that is something you should remember. So, but if you want to sort it by the F3 coverage, then what you have to do is change the data so that the 3 coverage will come up and it will be sorted according to the 3 coverage. I hope that is clear. That is sorting. The next option, I'm going to add some lines. You can add a trend line. For that, I'm going to remove the sorting and go back to the original monthly chart where it's according to the month, and I'm going to add some lines. If I want to add a trend line, that is how it is changing over the months. Like somebody mentioned when we discussed about TV, you can have a column chart with a line on top. So it could be a linear line. That is, it will average the values and put a linear one. Let's see how it will come. So you can see two lines here. It doesn't show a big trend because there is little variation. But if there is big variation, you can see a trend there. Or there's a polynomial line. And there is another lowest line. So these types of lines you can use in your chart. I'm going to remove the trend lines, and sometimes you might want to add a target line. Let's say the coverage should be at least 80%. I'm going
Pramil,
to put, yes,
excuse me. Yeah, there's a request to go slowly.
right.
Uh, yeah.
Okay, right. Do I have to repeat anything? If there is anyone who wants something repeated, you can ask in the Slack and I will repeat. Right. So I'm going to add a target line here because in certain, let's say API program, the program manager says you should have at least 80% coverage for this. So I'm going to add 80, a line on 80, and you can give a name for that. This is your target. And there is another line called baseline that is usually below the target but like a minimum line. Let's say the API program, they will say you should have at least 50% coverage, but your target is 80. So my baseline would be 50 and my target is 80. So this is base. Let's update and see. So you have two lines. One is the target line, there's a name here. One is the baseline, again a name here. So I hope that is clear about sorting and target lines.